Omar deliberately wants to rile me up while Kim picks fights with me. It's a thing now.
It's because it's the best cuts and we need something for the Patreon and Dano's not here.
Welcome to another episode of Anime and Tea Podcast, but this time it's going to be an espresso. Espresso. Now I'm saying espresso. I blame you, Omar, for this. Espresso.
Espresso?
I regret nothing.
Which just means that this episode we try to make it into 30 minutes or less. But today's topic is really just new anime that we've been watching within a year that we would probably recommend or we liked. We do welcome one of our members in which we did not do an introduction video or recording. So we're going to go over his introduction and then each of us will kind of go over within the year, what anime we've been watching. So here I welcome Jordan. Jordan, please let us know what got you into anime.
Hello everyone, my name is Jordan, the man who needs no introduction. That's it. No, I got into, I'm a Colorado-based big old anime nerd. I, like many kids, got into anime when I was a little boy. My cousin, who was into anime, walked into our house while he was babysitting and he was like, "Hey, do you guys want to watch Princess Mononoke?" When I was way too young. And I said, "Of course I do." And it was super bloody and it was super actiony, and I thought, wow, that's crazy, but I really liked it. And he was like, cool, here's Evangelion, Dragon Ball Z, and all these other VHSs that he had at the time. And a long spark from that, my brother and I then got into Toonami, where we found all of the old classic animes that made their way over to the States. So I'm one of the many who grew up on old Gundam, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon. I remember being like a rebellious youth, staying up way too late and being like, ooh, I'm gonna stay up late and watch Full Metal Alchemist, the original 2003 one, and other such shows. So it goes back a long while, and then as the years have gone on, my tastes matured. I slowly became that friend amongst my friend groups who would introduce other people to animes, mostly through like, hey, there's a movie, there's like a Death Note movie playing at Cinemark. You want to come? Oh, you liked it? Let me show you the series. Yeah, that's basically just how I got into it. I now try to keep up with animes. I go to a couple cons every year. Huge into games too, and all the blending between like the voice actors and stuff. Always love seeing that. What I have currently been watching this season, I'm always a little bit behind on the seasons. I tend to watch things a few months after they come out. But what I've personally been watching recently is Bleach 1000 Year Blood War. Now the dub is fully out for that. Huge Bleach fan, glad that it's back with some good animation. The latest season of My Hero Academia, they're finally getting into the fun Deku Alone stuff. No big spoilers there for anyone that cares. Casually been starting in Chainsaw Man. I read that and I've watched the first few episodes and watched the first episode of Trigun. I'm really excited to get back into that and see what else is out. I remember the old Trigun from years ago, so seeing it back in Stampede is fun. Good ones to recommend. Probably gonna sound like a broken record, but Chainsaw Man's fun. Everyone likes that one. Hyper actiony, violence, fun characters. Bleach is great if you were an old fan of Bleach and you don't want to like put up with like the filler while you're watching the new stuff. And from the bits I've seen of Spy Family, it's also pretty fun. I haven't finished it or caught up anything with the new season, but it's fantastic. My sleeper hit that I want to recommend to everyone, it's a Netflix anime, but it's Roma Thermae Nove. To anyone that hasn't seen that, it's about an old man that travels through time learning about hot springs, and it's fantastic. Looking at the sheet, as far as bad ones that I wouldn't recommend, I don't have any, and I think that's mostly because I just haven't branched out enough over the past few years into new things, and I'm like, I'm not a big fan of that, so I'm sure there's plenty, but none of them made their way to my radar. It's not to say I have good taste, I just don't have time to get into things that I'm not already a little bit interested in. But overall, I'm excited for just all the new seasons of things that I'm already watching, the big one being Demon Slayer. Huge fan of the manga, huge fan of the series, so Swordsmith Village arc and everything that follows, super hyped for that.
Dude, the animation with Mitsuri is gonna be sick. I can just already tell.
Everyone's gonna be hyped for that scene where she's just getting out of the water.
Well, thank you so much, Jordan. It was nice to actually introduce you to our listeners and stuff like that. But it does sound like you have quite the variety of what you've been watching. So I am so surprised how big Chainsaw Man has come. But honestly, seeing by just going to conventions and a lot of people literally cosplaying Chainsaw Man, I was like, they're already like, once it comes out, it's going to be huge. There's
Yeah.
like no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, like just from the manga, getting like the English adaptation was like a huge
As
switch.
Caroline now knows, cough, cough.
Yeah. I'll share about that later without spoilers.
I remember walking around NDK and just seeing all the cosplays.
Yeah, and
everywhere.
all the cosplays. That's
I love the Angel Devil cosplays. Out of all of the Chainsaw Man cosplays I see, those are always my favorite. Like, I want to interview someone at COAF as Angel Devil.
I love it. More cosplays to come. So I'm actually going to go over the ones that I'm recently been watching within the year. So they might not be up to date, but just know that I'm actually watching a lot. It's just that these are the 3 that I picked just because they were like somewhat my favorite. Also, it's like ones that I feel like just don't get enough recognition or people haven't heard about it. So the first one is Redo the Healer. Now I'm not saying I'm going to recommend this one. What I'm saying is the reason I like it is because Redo of Healer is kind of like the villain that I didn't get from Shield Hero. So like when I was watching Shield Hero, I had the high hopes that he will become a villain and we'll have a whole villain arc where you can actually experience like a hero becoming a villain because of the environment and having to adapt towards these like people that don't like him just because he's a Shield hero. Unfortunately, it took a different turn. So Redo of Healer was the second best bet. Now, keep in mind, it does have some sexual stuff. So if you're not 18 and higher, or you don't want to watch it, if you don't,
Now we're at the reason she likes it.
that's that. You know what? That has nothing to do. The reason I like it, okay, is because he is a villain. So the main character he has the power of healing, but this healing power not only can exceed a person's experience, like being able to level up a lot faster by using his power, but people abuse it to the ultimate extent. And until he is free from being a slave, like that's where you actually get to meet him and he gets his revenge. And that's what I like about it. The sex scenes are not that important to me. And that is why, if you do not want to watch the sex scenes, please just go to Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll basically puts this imagery from the outside of what's happening, so you're not actually seeing it. That's really like the best way to watch it, I guess, if you want to skip out on those. But like I said, I feel like this was one that we didn't get from Shield Hero, because Shield Hero does become an actual hero, even though he has like a slave girl and a beast girl, you know? I was just hoping for more villain stuff.
Hey, don't
And,
knock
like-
off the bloody beast girl, bro.
To be fair, he didn't try to bang either one of them.
Like a true gentleman.
Well, that's true. He didn't.
Correction. Oh, you know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna say it. That's a major spoiler.
At least for where they're at right now in the anime.
I mean,
Fair point. Fair point.
now the second one that my boyfriend has been trying to get me to watch, and finally I watched it, is Vinland Saga. So this one is a lot about Vikings, and I definitely loved the story itself. Basically, it's like a small village of Vikings, and the head honcho used to be in these Viking wars and decided to leave that life to actually live a life of relaxation, a farmer, stuff like that. Well, stuff happens where unfortunately he cannot leave that life, but his philosophy is violence doesn't stop unless you stop it. So even though he was the strongest Viking,
Violence with violence.
well, how he sees it is he was in a war. The war never stops unless someone basically stops. And so he kind of lives the life like that, where, if violence does come to him, he prefers not having to use violence. If it kills him, he would rather die than continue on this battle. And I think that's very inspiring in that aspect, because a lot of people fight fire with fire and it just becomes a forest fire and it just doesn't get resolved. So it was definitely a touching show, and I would recommend it to anyone, because it has a little bit of everything. It has action, some romance, some, like I mentioned, great storytelling, some farming life. It just has a mix. And I feel that's perfect for anyone. The last one is Jobless Reincarnated. And I feel like this one did not get, I just haven't heard much about it. Now, don't get me wrong. I feel like the reason is because of the main character. So if you do watch it and you see who the main character is and his past life, it is an isekai. I should start with that. I'm sorry. It is an isekai.
I'm starting to notice kind of a trend here in what you've been watching, Kim. I'm just saying.
Well, no. Not all
Just
of them.
saying.
But I do watch a lot of isekai. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of my favorite genres. But yeah, so he gets reincarnated, and if you meet his reincarnation, you might kind of have weird feelings about him because he is one of those MCs that is a perv.
Aren't they
But
all?
I feel like in a percentage, he's like maybe 20% perv. Well, no, sorry, I might have to increase that. Let me back it up. I would say maybe like
He's only 20% pervy. He only undresses you while staring at you. It's fine. He's only no physical touch.
I am not a little pervert.
Oh, yeah? Then tell me, what are you?
I'm a big one.
we'll say he's like, I mean, the guy still does steal panties, so I would say like around 70, which I mean, like he could be full on perv. I'll say he's 70.
He's a panty perv. He's a panty thief.
I do love how the world is presented because in this anime, it is more about magic and learning how to use magic. And I feel like the MC does grow from him being a sheltered boy and being afraid of everything to one to explore. And you get to meet these very strong people like they're his beast teacher. Let me just tell you, this girl is a fucking beast. She makes what's her name, Mirako, look like nothing. That's how fucking buff this chick is, and I absolutely love her.
She makes Mirako look like Mira.
Yeah, she is Mira. No, if they ever come out with a figure of her, I would buy it immediately. Don't give a shit about the price. I'd be like $1,000. Boom, right there. So I definitely love her. She is
Joe, 3D print that
please.
for Kim and make it grand.
I would love that.
Her and Colin.
Oh
Did
shit!
Colin
Yeah,
already start asking for figures?
no, just Colin likes to get beat up. Remember?
No, Colin
Oh, right.
Colin wants a woman who's gonna whoop his ass.
That's true. We already discussed
like,
this.
Ladies.
You stepped on.
Colin's socials are on our pages.
Yeah.
If you can whip his ass, check it out.
But I would definitely give it like if you get the time, I definitely recommend it for anyone. It's I like the magic in that world, and I feel like it goes more into depth of magic compared to other animes. So again, Jobless Reincarnated. I've been reading the manga because that's how invested I am. So if you like it, definitely read the manga. But yeah, those are my top 3. I hate saying that because I can never decide
3 recommendations.
when people ask me that. It's like
Or 3 stuff.
yeah,
3 things you
I
watch.
guess 3 recommendations. Now we're gonna go over to Joe's recommendations or what she's been watching recently.
Oh no. Okay, so my friend Kira texted me one day and she was like, "Oh, there's an anime on Netflix." She's like, "You're totally gonna just be like, oh my lord, when you watch it." And I was like, okay, there's 2 oh my lord Joe ratings, right? It's like, oh my lord, this is trash, but I'm so far into it, I have to continue to watch it. Or, oh my lord, why is my life an anime? And I was like, so which one are we on? And she was like, just watch it and you'll see. So it's Romantic Killer. The full season is sub and dub on Netflix. 100% love it. I haven't added an anime to my top 10 in a long, long time, and it's actually my number 2. I watched the whole season, binged it. I've watched it like 13 times since the day it came out. But in the first episode, you just see like little Anzu like sitting there and she has these 3 great loves. Like this little wizard Riri thing comes out and he is like, I'm gonna take him away until you get a boyfriend. And she goes through like this whole thing. She has like a childhood friend come back, you know, like those cliche stories. And the whole time she's like, I'm gonna be a romantic killer. I'm not gonna date these people. I'm not gonna do this stuff. And it was just really funny, and I absolutely just fell in love with it. I pre-ordered the manga for the English releases, so I'm really excited to see where that goes. But yeah, 10 out of 10 recommend that one, and the fact that it's on Netflix kind of worried me, but they did really well, so totally all for that.
I'll add that to my list because it sounds amazing.
100%, dude. Like, I'm debating, watching or cosplaying Anzu for Koaf.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's what one of my options is. But yeah, it was like a crazy. I definitely love it. It's fun. It's exciting. Kind of cliche, but not to the point of like, oh my god, I can't watch this. And then my second one is actually my number one all-time favorite anime and has continued to be my number one since it first came out. Bungo Stray Dogs. Love it. All the movies, all the seasons, sub, dub, whatever, just give it to me kind of thing. So the fact that season 4 came out and they started dubbing it immediately made me so happy. So I've been all caught up on that. If you guys haven't watched it, I definitely recommend it, but it is a little violent. So just keep that in mind. There's like 3
Is it gory?
Well, so it depends because
Like how high is the violence where like you get organs
Yes.
everywhere?
You like children and school buses? Don't worry.
My 2 favorite loves. Oh no!
hey,
Oh,
spoil that like that. Don't do that.
How is that a spoiler? I just said 2 things that could possibly have nothing to do
Don't-
with each other, and now you've made it so
No,
people
no,
had to
no,
go 1 + 1 = 2. That's a Joe problem.
It's bad. It's bad. Don't. It's a cute story. There's a lot of upsetting parts. There's trauma. There's 3 gangs, but they're not really gangs. One of them is. It's like an enemy to lovers trope kind of thing.
I've heard that it's more psychological.
Yeah, like most people have like a special power, like a transformation or
An
he can-
ability.
yeah, like those kind of things. There's good, evil, there's like your anti-hero. Like it's a good mix for everyone, but they do have some more violent scenes. But Dazai and Chuya are my boys. Like if they were real,
If you had to pick one, who would you pick?
Dazai in a heartbeat, and we
Yeah.
would commit double murder suicide together. That
Me
is
too!
how Chuya can sit there and watch, or we could all 3 of us could just go together, and I would be very happy. Like I do recommend it. Just kind of watch it in stride. Like if you can't handle like a more violent precedence, let me know, and I'll tell you what episode to skip. But yeah, no, I definitely love it. I love all the characters. I love the sub and dub. I actually watched the whole thing, like all the seasons and all the movies subbed first. I wouldn't even watch the dub until I realized who some of the VAs were, and then I was like, oh, I have to give it a shot. And then I loved both of them, and it was an absolute problem. But it's a good problem. So there's that. And then my last one, also in my top 10, Misfit of Demon King Academy. It's not one that I've seen a lot of people talk about, but I do know like it does have a fandom. Sasha is my girl all day. I love her. I used to have like all my profile pictures be like my profile picture for like everything. That's how much I loved her. So when the second season came out, despite like the artist passing away and all that stuff with the manga, like it did get delayed, but it was definitely worth it. 100% love it to death. The new season, I feel like, is just as good as the first season, but I do have such a strong love for it, so I can see people not enjoying it if you're not a part of that fan base. But I do feel like the story is developing really nicely for getting a second season, and so like that just made me really excited as like a fan for it, and I'm excited for the light novel and all of that to continue as well.
not bad for a selection. I'll give you that.
It's a pretty badass selection.
I mean, still just the wrong girl. You're just picking,
no,
but like you're picking the wrong
No,
girl
no,
from Misfit.
no.
Misfit.
Kim,
Yeah, you are. You're gonna hurt her sister's feelings.
Hey Joe,
One has
question
to be
for
the
you. How
best.
come when I do a Google search for this character, the word mid keeps coming up?
Get rinsed.
Oh, damn. Omar's on my side.
I haven't even seen this. I don't know. I've never seen the anime. I'm just here to rile up.
Thank you.
I feel like this is going to be an episode later where we're fighting for best girl or worst girl.
Exactly. That's true.
Is it bad that I'm just imagining that meme where you have the person in the restaurant praying, saying, "Dear God, give me the ability to punch people through the internet"?
If I had that power, I'd have been a super villain forever ago.
I feel like that's you right now, Joe.
That's me! The cat with the teacup. Oh, 100%. Kim and my
Yes,
petty
that's perfect.
arguments over characters are just funny. Omar and my Pokemon fight, like, literally, like, hurts my core.
All right, Omar, start off with what you've been watching recently.
I kind of did my focus more on anime that's brand new right now, coming out. And since this is our express version of our podcast, I'm going to go through these here pretty quick. So the first one that I've been watching is Nier Automata version 1.1a. It is the anime adaptation of the obviously named Nier Automata video game, which, for the record, absolute masterpiece. If you haven't played it, go play it. Every main system you can find it: PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox, Switch, whatever you want, go play it. As far as the anime goes, the anime is actually pretty good. The animation on there, especially for the on-the-ground fight scenes with like 2B, 9S, and whatnot against the machine life forms, really excellent. It does a really good job of picking up the frenetic pace of the game. I will say that the mech combat scenes aren't great. It's a little bit jarring because it's very obvious CG, and it's not the CG that kind of melds in very well. They could have done a little bit better with the CG cutscenes, but the actual on-the-ground sword combat is excellent on there. Very well animated. The story follows the same story as the game. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to spoil the anime or the game for anyone, because it's a story everyone needs to experience if they can. But what
Would you say that you would have to play the game in order to watch the anime first?
I would say the anime was geared towards people who have played the game, because they do go through the story really fast, at least in those first few episodes. There was a delay due to a COVID outbreak, so they're a little bit behind in terms of the episode releases. But a lot of the buildup that you had in the game is sped up a lot for the anime. It still makes sense for people who are brand new, but it's not necessarily going to hit quite as hard as the game did when you're the one actually going through and experiencing all those. I will say one of the coolest parts about the anime is they do a little puppet theater at the end. For anyone who played the game, there is a ton of like joke endings in there where, like, if you go the wrong way, it's a game over, or if you take out the android's OS chip, it's a game over, and that's one of the endings. So they came up with a lot of different goofy endings, and they've been redoing those endings after the episode credits as a puppet theater. And if for nothing else, watch the puppet theater. The puppet theater is hilarious. Overall, really good start to the anime. It's looking like the story is going to deviate a little bit. I'm not sure exactly how far off it's going to deviate. We'll have to see. Yoko Taro is a madman, so we'll see what he decides to do with this. For all we know, he's going to, halfway through, it's going to be like, cool, this is ending F, the true ending to the game that's associated with the stage plays and the light novels that have not come to America. And we're going to be like, hold up, what? And then we're going to just go through and...
Don't give him ideas, he'll do it.
He might already have. But yeah. Nier Automata version 1.1, so far, good start. Really enjoying it. Moving on to my second one here. Just like Jordan, I'm watching My Hero Academia, the current season. Season 6, part 1 was a very climactic piece for that anime, and now they're kind of dealing with ramifications of everything that happened in part 1 and exploring some of the dynamics between heroes and their families, and the villains, getting the upper hand, and then now they're kind of starting to pick up the action again. Everything's kind of built to be leading into the next section here with, Stars and Stripes? Is that what the next section is? I think, Jordan, I think you probably know that one. Yeah, so...
Yeah, Stars and Stripes, and then Deku.
So it's leading up pretty cool. To me, it's definitely worth watching just because of it's a necessary arc in the story to piece these pieces together between the different climactic points so far. Next one is Trigun Stampede. I was a huge fan of the original Trigun. I watched the originals back in the day on DVD before that shit even hit Toonami. I was going to Blockbuster. I was trying to find DVDs wherever I could. Got through the whole series. Excellent series. Loved it. I was really hesitant when I saw the first images of the brand new Trigun. The art style definitely looked really jarring. I wasn't sure what I was going to think about it. And when I saw the first picture of Vash, I was like, what'd they do to my boy? But I watched the first 5 or 6 episodes, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. The animation actually works really well for the way they're telling the story. The story is very similar to the original. However, they're bringing in different characters at different times. The characters have a little bit different background. This version is a lot more gory, at least so far, than what the original was. And the more I've kind of watched of how they put this particular story together, the more I understand of why they chose the new art style, because I'm not sure if the art style would have really worked in the old art style. And I think that's kind of something that's important to notice, is between what, as much nostalgia as we have for the old versions, when they try and tell the story in a different way, sometimes they're going to utilize different mechanics for how they're going to present that story. But overall, it's so far been really good. Highly recommend that one. The last one I watched, and this is kind of our recommendation. Watch this one if you have the time or you're really bored, but it's called Chillin' in My 30s After Getting Fired from the Demon King's Army. That one caught my attention because I'm in my 30s and I'm chilling. So I was like, maybe I'll check this one out. I was like, I could get fired any day. Who knows? I work in corporate America. Basically the same as the Demon Lord.
It is the Demon Lord because I was fired from corporate America.
Isn't it? Peak capitalism, go. I like to call it an isekai light. So the main character on there, Daryl, he doesn't necessarily go to another world, but when he's kicked out of the army, he basically goes and he lives with the humans after being raised by demons. So it's kind of an isekai because it's a different world to him. So maybe it's not a different plane of existence, but his world's turned upside down. It's kind of your typical isekai tropes. Turns out he's OP as hell. The local village girl has a huge crush on him. Her tits are out for half of the anime. You know, he wins over the populace very quickly. Like I said, it's kind of your isekai light. The way I like to describe it is it's basically your Walmart brand version of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. It's okay, but it's not great. It'll get the job done if you got nothing else to do. And there's a lot worse out there. Those are my 4. Anyone who's actually listening to this, leave your comments below about which of those 4 are cool and which ones I'm an idiot about talking about.
My Hero's great. Nier Automata's awesome. I'm excited for more.
Well, thank you so much, Omar. That was quite the selection. Well, Caroline, since you can't tell us right now, why don't you put your recommendations out there?
Yeah. So similar to Jordan, I've actually been watching Chainsaw Man, and I finished it recently. And I was so addicted to it, I decided to read ahead in the manga, because a friend initially made the... Yes.
One of us!
You don't we can make the chant for everybody else, but for our lovely listeners, if you haven't seen Chainsaw Man yet, I highly recommend that you start. And the reason for that, whether it's the manga, whether it's the anime, it's gonna go in a direction that you're not going to expect. And the reason I say that is because there have been moments where, when reading the manga, my thought was, oh, I can kind of see where things are going. Denji is an interesting protagonist, and he's not my absolute favorite character, but at the same time, considering his background and everything, I can kind of understand his circumstances. Makima still gives me uneasy feelings and vibes,
Super
but
sus.
I love, respect, and hate her at the same time. And I can't say any more. All I'm gonna say is, if you want to feel what I am feeling, go ahead and start the manga.
Do we want to feel feelings?
Yes.
I'm a millennial. I've been dead in the inside for like a decade.
Well, no, this will probably make you feel more than...
Oh, more dead? Okay, I'm down.
Omar, I cried at the first chapter, and then I cried again when they got animated.
Yeah.
So yes, you'll get feels.
Just to give you kind of like a brief rundown, we have our main character who is extremely in debt to the Yakuza, and he has a pet devil dog named Pochita, who is a chainsaw dog, and he is a devil hunter, and he takes jobs for the Yakuza to hunt down devils, pay off his debt, and he is so poor that the only thing he can eat is a slice of bread a day, and he shares it with his dog Pochita. And, I mean, it's kind of a spoiler for the first episode, but there's an incident that occurs where the Yakuza betrays him, the main character is dead, the Pochita, the nice little fun chainsaw dog, saves his life by saying, I'm gonna give you my heart, and in return, I want you to live your dreams.
Okay.
And that's how he turns into Chainsaw Man.
Say, is everything okay at home?
Yeah, no. I cried. I showed this anime to my grandmother. She cried. My next recommendation, and that is Spy Family, because that's one I've been watching with season 1, much like how Jordan mentioned, but I've also recently finished season 2, and I am excited about the announcement for a Spy Family movie, because I'm not sure what that's gonna look like, but I'm excited for it nonetheless.
I didn't even know that they're coming with a movie. Yep. That's cool, though.
So for the viewers who haven't seen or read Spy Family, just to give you a brief rundown, we have a spy from a neighboring country who is given this mission to get close to a target, and the only way that the target is seen in public, because the person is such a recluse, is when they go to 2 events that take place at a prestigious school. And his mission is to put together a fake family and have the child infiltrate the school. So he adopts a daughter, and the daughter is a telepath, and the daughter knows that the dad is a spy, but the dad doesn't know that the daughter is a telepath. He finds a wife, he gets married, the wife is actually an assassin, which the daughter knows the wife is an assassin, her new mom, but mom doesn't know that the daughter is a telepath or that her new husband is a spy, so it's a lot of hijinks, but also wholesome and comedic moments. So it makes me extremely happy to see a film if we do get it. If not, I will be content for another season, or I guess technically season 2, because this just recently finished the other half of season 1, I guess.
Don't get me started. Anyone who read the manga of Attack on Titan saw, like, it's the final season. It's like, there's
Yeah.
no way that's one season. That's impossible. A 4-part season. Isn't that just 4 seasons?
The final season, part 7.
For Spy Family, both its opening and endings are very catchy. Animation-wise, they're also uniquely different. There's the opening for the first one was the fact that it started off like a child's drawing and it's animated and everything. I thought that was very cute, and then it transitioned to actual anime. When that was amazing and awesome, and I just get a lot of feels when I listen to the openings and endings for that series.
Yeah, someone did mention that the beginning, the openings are actually seen through his eyes, like his perspective of Anya and his wife. And after someone said that, I was like, that is so adorable. Like, you're seeing his vision, like basically what he sees with these two. And it's just like, it's the best thing ever. Like, you don't see that.
Oh yeah. And Wit Studio and Clover did an amazing job with this for a collaboration. It's beautiful to watch, and it just makes me laugh. Speaking of anime openings and comedy and everything, my third recommendation that I kind of took a hiatus, but I started rewatching it again, is My Dress Up Darling. And this was pitched to me because I love to cosplay, and this has been pitched as the cosplay anime because it goes into the details when it comes to making a costume. And we have our main character, Marin, who wants to cosplay and tries sewing her first costume and kind of struggles. And then she meets another classmate who he likes to make traditional Japanese dolls, and he specifically makes the clothing on them because that's what his family's been doing. So he's translating something where it was initially made for a doll, and now he's trying to learn sewing for a life-size actual human person. And we have a lot of interesting moments. We have the whole going through the process of measurements that you might need for a cosplay. They even covered stuff that I never even considered, and I feel bad. I'm still watching it. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm still enjoying it, and it's reached a point enough where I started seeing the manga on the bookshelves and gradually buying it just so that way I can read it in the meantime.
I will say Gojo has the amount of self-control that is not probably physically possible in the real world, because my goodness, that dude.
Looks like we spilled all our tea for today. Follow us on all socials at animeandtea.com. That's anime, ANDTEA.com, or email us at anime.teapodcast@gmail.com. You can also listen to us through different platforms such as Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. To become a patron and help support our podcast, please go to patreon.com/anime tea podcast. Currently only $5 a month. Even if you're not a patron, we appreciate you for sharing, listening, and engaging.
And we're all out of espresso, as our cup is empty today.
What
Please
about
follow
espresso?
not express.
Espresso.
Espresso.
Polar espresso.
Espresso. We're talking about the ostrich from Donkey Kong Country, right?
No, we're not talking about it.
Because that's espresso.
Omar.
All right, guys.
It is.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this mini episode. Please check out our next 2 episodes. The next one is episode 6, Classic versus Modern Anime. We would love to hear your comparison. And then also our next mini episode, which is going to be smaller cons versus larger cons, comparing the two, which one we prefer, and stuff like that. So, if everyone say goodbye.
Deuces.
Bye.